Let's talk about the biomechanics of the triceps. Now you're going to hear me say this over and over again, so it's important that you watch the posture series and grasp that butt out, nipples out posture that I'm always referring to. This concept is very important when it comes to training the triceps. We're about to go through the anatomy and some basic exercises for the individual heads of the triceps. But first I want to show you some of the key points to the muscles as a group and some basic posture exercises to practice. Let's start with the can opener. Now for the can opener. The can opener is a great stretch for the upper body, specifically the chest and the rotator cuff. Now I have a PVC pipe here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it up over my head. You see my fingers are facing forward and I'm grabbing onto that. I'm going to drop this right below my shoulder blades. You see from behind, I have that right below my shoulder blades. Now this position may be difficult for some of you to get into. If you can see from the side here, you see the pole is touching my arms and touching my back here. And I call this the can opener because what I'm actually going to do is look straight ahead and I rotate that stick into my back. You see how I push the elbows and the ribs forward as one. This all becomes one group that's working together. Right below the shoulder blades, I want to push all that forward. I want to open up the can. Now to do this, you need to be sliding your butt back also, so your low back is kind of arched, but I'm not arching over it and I'm not pulling my elbows forward. This has all become one piece and together they move forward. It moves my ribs up and out. We're going to open up the can. See the can opener here. Open up the can. The ribs and the elbows to come together forward, not the elbows. I'm not just moving those elbows forward. Let's look from the back. Right below the shoulder blades. I want to make sure I'm sliding that butt back. I hold this stick tight here and together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whew, I can feel that burning already. And that's the can opener. Okay, now let's go over the corkscrew. You can see I'm sitting here on this bench. I'm going to have my hands, I'm practically almost sitting on my thumbs here so that my hands are close to my body here. Now the main thing is that you want to slide that butt back onto that seat. You see how I did that? And then I want to pull those ribs through. Now I call this the corkscrew because I'm actually fulcruming on the strong part of my hand here, on the thenar part of my hand. I'll show you a closer view of this in a second here. But I call it the corkscrew because we're actually pushing through that area. So I have to slide my butt back. I'm going to extend the arms, push through there, slightly twist it. I'm going to slightly corkscrew that. Slightly corkscrew that. Now this is all flexibility to actually be able to externally rotate that shoulder, and extend back onto those triceps. And I'm doing that by making sure that butt out, nipples out. I pull that chest out here and I turn around and I rock onto that. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that corkscrew? I turn those triceps out and slightly push through there as I'm pulling the ribs back. And I'm sliding that butt back. You see how that looks? You're going to corkscrew that down. Now let's get a better view at what I'm actually doing there. Okay, now for a closer view of the corkscrew. I'm actually pushing through this thenar section of my hand. I'll call this the strong part of my hand. You'll hear me talk about that a lot. But the corkscrew is actually screwing through there. You see how it's actually, the arm is actually turning as I push through that. But I'm not pushing down there real hard because I don't want to be pushing with my bicep. I want to slightly twist that around because it's the arm that needs to twist around, not the hand. The hand isn't twisting here. It's the arm that's twisting. See how I'm able to go back and extend those triceps and corkscrew through there to rotate and externally rotate that shoulder back. and be able to extend back onto those triceps. You don't want to be pushing up at the front. Look at if I push with the front of my hand, you can see that the force goes right to my elbow. We want to be going through there, through the strong part. My hands are right to my side here. I'm going to slide my butt back, pull my ribs through, and right there. Soon you'll get flexible enough to be able to pull everything through and just sit here. So the corkscrew, we corkscrew down 1, 2, 3. I'm actually pushing through and rotating that, pulling my chest through as I extend that shoulder back, lock that tricep down, the corkscrew. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's go over the bench dip. I'm going to have my hands, I'm practically going to sit on my thumbs here to make sure that my hands stay hips distance apart. So then I know I'm in line with my shoulder. Now my legs are going to be stretched out in front of me here so that I'm able to use my legs to help push my butt up under the bench here. Now the important thing, and we'll go over this in a minute with the range of motion of the triceps, is that I can't, the shoulder is going to block me here. You see, if I just kind of go down like this, you see how the shoulder is blocking me here? So the elbows need to get behind that rib cage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to practically sit on my hands here. My legs are stretched out forward. I'm going to barely get my butt off. You want to make sure your elbows are pointing towards the back. You don't want to be going like this. I'm going to make sure my back is touching this bench the whole time. So as I go down, the elbows are pointing back. My back is touching the bench. I've got to lean forward here a little bit. I keep my ribs high, so that's where I'll tell you to push your butt back behind that chair. And it's only going to come about hips level. You see where my arms are now parallel to the floor? Elbows are pointing back. Then I'm going to corkscrew up. 1. You see how my back touched the bench the whole time. You don't want to be getting back like this. Because the chest, look at my chest is down and my butt is tucked. I still want to have that butt out, nipples out posture. You see, so I'm going to lower myself. I'm going to make sure I'm touching the bench the whole time. Get that, lean forward, those elbows are back, that rib, chest stays high, push that butt back, and then come right up. It's only going to come about hip level. You can see if I get down here too low, look at, now I'm straining my shoulders. And my elbows are way past my armpits. So now I'm out of the range of motion of my triceps and I'm straining my shoulders. So it's not how far you go down. It's that you're able to get up there and you're able to corkscrew up there. So I'm going to inhale on the way down. My back's touching the whole time. Lean forward, blow out. 1. Inhale, go down, pull up. 2. The chest comes forward, that butt goes behind that bench, elbows pointing backwards. And 3. The bench dip. Okay, now let's try the bench dip from this angle so you can see me from behind. We want to get our hands there, sit on those hands. I want to slide that butt back, pull those ribs through, and I'm going to corkscrew. See, I'm going to corkscrew those arms down. I'm not twisting the hand. I'm twisting the upper arm, and those fibers of the triceps come around, and then I have to extend down on it. You see from the side here, I'm extending down on it. This actually comes down like that. See how the chest comes out as I extend down on the tricep. Okay, so here we go. I want to inhale on the way down. The elbows are going to come back. My back is going to touch this bench the whole time. So I'm going to go down. See how I'm touching the bench here? The butt goes underneath the bench because my ribs are going to come through. I don't want to drop those ribs down. I want to keep them nice and high. Inhale on the way down. Blow out on the way up. Corkscrew up there at the top by pulling those ribs through and extending back onto those triceps. Inhale down. Blow out on the way up. 1. Inhale on the way down. Push that butt underneath the seat. Blow out. 2. I'm touching the seat the whole time. Inhale. Push back. 3. And that's the bench dip. Okay, now for the band muscle up. What you want to do is have your arms straight down. You see how my palms and my fingers are pointing straight down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean forward and slide my butt back. And then my elbows just come up. You see, my forearms aren't moving at all. I'm just inhaling, my elbows are actually coming back, my butt's going back, my chest is high, and then I'm going to pull through, all the way through, and corkscrew at the bottom. You see how my arms, inhale here, see how I actually twist that through with my chest and extend back onto those triceps. Inhale on the way down. My hands are staying right here close to my rib cage. My arms are parallel, my chest is high, my butt is out. This is a balancing act. You'll be like, You got to inhale, learn how to balance that by pulling that chest through, and then drive that chest through as you extend back onto those triceps and you corkscrew at the top there. You see that? Inhale on the way down, blow out on the way up. I want to make sure that my hands are in plane here with my hips and my body. I'm not out here. I'm not doing this. I'm not even doing this where my hands are here. They stay close to my body the whole time. I'm going to inhale. You see, my hands never moved. My elbows just went back. My butt went back. My chest comes through. I'm going to pull straight through. Let me turn around and show you this from behind. So you want to make sure the band is right here. Everything is in this plane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to inhale, lean forward. My elbows come back. Just a parallel. You know, it's not how high up I go. Look, for me to get like this, I had to drop my butt and my ribs. We don't want that. Plus, I'm going to strain my shoulders, and this requires my front delt and my biceps to push through here. We're not pushing like this. I inhale. Elbows go back. Pull through and corkscrew. 1. Inhale on the way down. Slide the butt back. The ribs come through. Drive that chest through and corkscrew at the bottom. 2. Inhale. Pull through. 3. Whoo. The band muscle up. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this position again, where your fingertips are right there at the bottom of your sternum. You can see how your arm is going to perfectly line your rib cage there. Now it's important that you pull those ribs out, do that butt out, nipples out posture, and it just forms in there perfectly. Look at what it looks like when I have poor posture. See, I have all this space in here. We want to pull that through, and that's going to be important when it comes to training the triceps, because the object is we've got to get this elbow back behind those ribs. See, I'm going to get the elbows back behind those ribs. Now, if I'm in this dumpy posture, the only thing I can do is get jammed up here. Get jammed up here. Then I'm pushing with the chest and the shoulders to push that down, instead of having the ribs through and pulling through. So I'm going to want to lean into it and pull through it, not push through it. Now, standing in this position still, go ahead and take your hand out of the equation. See how my arm is parallel to the floor? It's going to be important that the arm is parallel to the floor, to the ceiling, or we'll go over some exercises where we're going to get it parallel to the wall behind us. But the object is we really want to get this elbow behind the ribs so that we can drive through and extend through. So we want to get those ribs behind so we can extend through. So it's important that you're pulling that butt out, nipples out posture, and that those arms are only going to be parallel here. Now on our lower arm, our forearm here, we have 2 bones. We have the radius and the ulna. Now these 2 bones cross over each other. You see, they cross over each other. Now this is the job of the anconeus in the back. Look from this angle. They cross over each other. They cross over each other. The anconeus over here actually helps twist those bones. So we have to get a little twist in there. Now you can see that this is the strong part of your hand, right at the end of these bones. So when I say drive through the strong part of the hand, I mean right here. Now we're going to have to corkscrew down, because we actually have to be rotating this bottom part of our arm this way while our top arm is going out. So our forearm is twisting in and our shoulder is twisting out at the same time. Out at the same time as we pull our chest through. You see how important it is to pull your chest through so you finalize that back onto the triceps. We're not going like this. Yeah, my triceps are contracting, but to get full contraction, we've got to be able to pull that long head around. And that anconeus, if we're like this, that anconeus can't lock it out. And that's how you can strain your elbow. So pay attention to that. Go ahead and hold yourself right here. Put some tension here and corkscrew through that. Corkscrew. Can you see how just slightly. It doesn't have anything to do with the wrist. It's right there. It's these two bones crossing and locking that out. Locking that out. So we're going to inhale, corkscrew down. We have to corkscrew down to pull that back. So that anconeus can lock that elbow out. Now I'll go over the anconeus in a moment, but go ahead and push through there. See what it feels like to drive through with the strong part of that hand. You got to drive through it. Let's talk about hand positioning here, because the hand positioning is very important in all of our exercises, but particularly here in the triceps. Now I have my hands here to my side. You can see we have a normal gesture to our hand to be kind of in. We don't want it all the way in. You can see how this causes internal rotation of the shoulder. But our hands kind of don't lay all the way open. They just lay here. We have kind of a inward hand gesture to our hands. So our hands are not strong in this position. You'll hear me talk about that a lot when you're doing straight bar curls. So the same thing goes with the triceps. So I want to show you specifically the differences with the hand positioning with the different type of grips that I use. Let me show you the corkscrew again real quick and how we corkscrew down, and it's all about the positioning of the hand. So my wrist is not turning. I'm not turning my wrist. I'm turning those other two bones here. I'm turning the forearm in, and I'm driving through. Can you see how I do that? Drive through that. Drive through that. Now, if my hand was straight here, these bones are not crossed. Now this isn't strong. Plus, with these bones being like this, they're not twisted. If they're not twisted here, we can't get full extension of that anconeus. And if we can't get full extension from that anconeus, then we're going to have a straight elbow and we're going to end up injuring our elbow because we can't totally lock it out. We can't wrap it around there from that anconeus. So hand positioning is very important. So let's start with the V grip first. This is one of my favorite grips to use. Oops. This is one of my favorite grips to use because look at the hand positioning that I'm already in. Now I want to be driving with this outside part of my hand. You see this outside part of my hand. I don't want to be pushing down. I don't want to be pushing here. Now I'm doing a shoulder press. I want to be driving through with those triceps. Pushing straight through with those triceps. So that's what the V grip, we want to be driving through with this part of our hand. Let's talk about the straight bar now. When you're working with this straight bar, we don't want this to be, it's not a wrist action. You see, it's not a wrist action. We want to be driving through the strong part of that hand there. So as I push down, my hands are actually extended back so I can push through that, and then it allows me to twist that arm in some. You see that? Now I'll show you a reverse grip on this also, and it's a little dangerous. You could injure your elbow if you're trying to pull this down. See, if I'm trying to pull this down with my pinkies, now I'm wrapping my hand all the way open, and that's going to strain my elbow. When I do the reverse grip, I'll tell you I'm in the OK position because I'm right here, and you see the bars actually fulcruming through and around here, through this outside portion, so that the inside of the hand could actually move. You see how that is? So we're going to pull it through. Pull it. I don't want to be just pulling it here. One last thing is that I have the band extension that I'm going to show you. Now I am going to pull this one through with a straight arm. So I'm going to pull it through with a straight arm. But this isn't something you want to do real heavy. I would do this as an ending motion where I'm going to pull straight through. The big part is that I extend back. But you can see it doesn't have anything to do with the wrist. The wrist is straight. I'm going to pull straight back. So the hand positioning is very important here. Let's go with some exercises.